Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a pretty provocative idea from our source material. What if attraction isn't really a choice? What if it's, well, a primal, unconscious reaction that runs on a code most of us don't even know is there?
So our source material kicks things off by painting this picture, trying to capture that, that electric moment of connection. It's not about logic or some polite chat. It's a feeling, right? A spark. But what is that spark? Where does it even come from? That's really the big question we're digging into today.
And this brings us to what our source calls the attraction paradox. See, we're all taught that being kind and loyal and dependable, that's the way to win someone's heart. But what if in those first crucial moments of attraction, that advice is actually, well, completely wrong? To really drive this point home, the source tells us the story of a guy named Rajiv. He did everything by the book. I mean, he offered his total loyalty, he promised security, he put his heart right out there on the line. And in the end, he was rejected. So, why?
Okay, take a look at this slide because this is where the source really reframes what happened to Rajiv. What he thought were his greatest strengths, his loyalty, his promise of security, they were seen in a totally different light. They came across as a burden, as fear, and maybe worst of all, as a lack of challenge. This shows us something huge. The language of good intentions just isn't what the primal brain is listening for.
So then what language does it understand? Well, according to our source, it's not our conscious, logical mind that's calling the shots. Nope. It's a subconscious reaction coming from the oldest part of our brain, what some people call the reptilian brain, which is all about survival, instinct, and raw, unfiltered emotion. And this right here, this is the core idea. It's suggesting that all the polite, logical rules of modern society, they just get completely ignored by this deeper system, this primal mind. It's running on a totally different operating system, one that's been fine-tuned for thousands of years for survival and passing on genes, not for social niceties. This slide just lays out that fundamental disconnect so clearly. It's like we're speaking one language, the language of conventional love, with words and promises and safety. But the primal brain, according to the source, it's listening for something else entirely. It's listening for energy, for danger, for challenge, and for the kind of power that comes from uncertainty.
Okay, so how do you actually speak this primal language? The source breaks it down into these pillars, and the first one is called movement. But this isn't about physicality, it's about grabbing attention on a subconscious level. And just to be super clear, we're not talking about physically moving around here. Not at all. It's about psychological disruption. The source explains that most people are just so predictable in how they approach someone that they basically become background noise. This idea of movement is all about shattering that predictability, forcing her brain to snap out of autopilot and actually notice you. And here's how the source says you can actually apply it. It's all about being the calm center of the room, not the frantic edge. By moving slowly, by using silence, breaking those normal conversational scripts, and holding a steady gaze, you create a contrast. And it's that contrast that the primal brain picks up on as important, as high status. You basically become the quiet storm in the room.
All right, now for the second pillar. So if movement is about capturing attention, attitude is all about holding it. The source describes this as creating a powerful, almost gravitational presence.
I just love this metaphor from the source. It argues that real authority and status, you never have to ask for them or announce them. They're just communicated non-verbally through who you are at your core. It's a presence that's felt way before a single word is ever spoken. And here's that same idea, just framed as an invisible crown. It's about having this core of self-possession that's so solid, it doesn't need anyone else to validate it. The source suggests that women will often test this foundation, to see if it's real, to see if the guy on the throne is actually a king. So how is this cultivated? The source points to these specific behaviors: stillness, a slow voice, a steady gaze, and these really measured reactions. When she challenges you or pulls away, which the source says is a totally natural test, the goal isn't to chase her or defend yourself. It's to just remain this unmovable, stable center. And that stability, that's what's truly attractive.
The final principle from our source really ties all of this together. It's a concept that's actually borrowed from economics, but it applies directly to attraction, the law of scarcity.
The source poses this really fundamental question, but it suggests that a lot of people, especially in the modern world, get the answer completely backward. We tend to think desire is created through abundance, by giving more attention, more compliments, more of our time.
But here it is, the core paradox. According to this way of thinking,
being constantly available actually signals low value. The primal mind, which is conditioned by thousands of years of valuing rare resources, it automatically gives a higher value to whatever is scarce. So strategic absence, it doesn't kill desire, it actually amplifies it.
So after all of that, we're left with this final question from our source material. Is that powerful initial pull of attraction a conscious choice that we make? Or are we all just responding to some ancient primal code that was written long, long before any of us were even here?